Roundup Live. I am Matt Lieberman, and of course, as always, this show is recorded live Fridays, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, so you should totally come watch the show live, chat with us, and tweet at us using the hashtag SHRoundup. You can also find this show on iTunes and on SoundCloud, as well as on YouTube after the fact. So no matter what mode you prefer, however you prefer to deal with this show, listen to the show, watch the show, rate and review on iTunes, like and subscribe on YouTube. It really, really helps everyone who works here out. I'm Matt Lieberman. On the couch, as always, Sam Basher.
Hello.
DJ Wooldridge.
What's up?
Maud Garrett is still in the UK right now, but she'll be back next week. No special guest today, but we do have a question of the day, as we always do. And the question is, does Marvel have any good villains or not? Do all their villains suck?
Specifically in the movies.
Yeah, in the movies.
In the year that we got Ultron, Yellow Jacket, and Doctor Doom. We're asking the question.
Why were they all bad?
Why did they all kind of underwhelm? Or did they? I don't know. It's up to you. So send us those tweets via the hashtag SHRoundup or write at us in the chat, and we're going to do our best to get to everybody. But first, of course, we got to talk about some newsy type stuff.
Yay.
Yeah.
This week we had some really cool news.
Really cool news.
Oh, the best I have to say is the Flash Arrow news. That was the highlight of my week.
Specifically, you're talking about how we got the first image of Earth 2 Flash. As a comic fan, it blew my mind that we're able to have a show advertise using that Flash of Two Worlds cover, iconic cover.
And it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And Jay Garrick's costume looks...
I was also surprised with how much those shows, Arrow and Flash, kind of bank on New 52 continuity. That Jay Garrick is like old school World War II. Do you guys think we might possibly get he's from a steampunky World War II universe?
I don't know.
Maybe.
That would be really cool,
Wouldn't that be
that
awesome?
would require more money than I imagine.
Do you also think that we might get Alan Scott now that Earth 2's what other Earth 2 heroes could show up in Flash?
Wow.
They could
old school Green
that could be their
Lantern?
Green
Yeah.
Lantern.
That'd be amazing.
That could be their Green Lantern. They could use a lot of things from Earth 2.
That'd be
I mean, we
so
know
great.
Adam Smasher will be from Earth 2. We know that.
Oh, is he from Earth 2?
I believe so. I believe that's what I read when they were saying Adam Smasher will be in the early part of the season.
It'd be crazy. We could get, because we already had the Helena Bertinelli Huntress in Arrow. Maybe we could get the Batman's daughter Huntress.
Oh, wow. That's mind-bogglingly cool.
And that's the thing, is the other news that you're talking about is that, which I guess we'll dive into more in a minute, but Constantine's going to be on Arrow, which anything's possible. Literally with these shows, it can happen.
Yeah.
Man, I was actually legitimately a little bit bummed when that show got canceled, and more bummed as people kept trying to freaking save it over and over again, and now it's there. He'll be in one episode of Arrow as of right now. He'll be in one episode, and he... what the cool part was, the thing that got me excited, a producer said that everything that happened in the Constantine show on NBC is canon in the Flash Arrow universe. Everything that happened,
which is
so
amazing.
He's the same
Which
character,
means we could get Spectre.
same friends. We might get Dr. Fate.
Yeah.
We might get Zatanna.
Yeah.
I would very much like both those characters.
Yeah, and it's nice to know that magic exists in this world, not just Lazarus Pit magic, magicians.
Serious hardcore magic.
Wizards.
Basically, Arrow at this point is a full-on, before they were flirting with it a little bit, but now that Flash has been super successful, Arrow is a full-on superhero show at this point.
Yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
And as much as people enjoyed the Constantine show, and I had moments where I enjoyed it,
Yeah, it
I
had
honestly
episodes.
think this is the better option, because
Yeah.
that show, they said maybe we'll get to connect with the rest of the universe, maybe, but this is actually this is an expanded universe where cool characters can flit in and out of these shows.
Yep.
And potentially we might see Matt Ryan get a show of his own. What if we had a Justice League Dark show? If
That'd
the
be
movie's not going to
incredible.
happen, then let's have him front a different show that we can soft launch through this DC TV universe.
Or Legends of Tomorrow. I would like to see a
Maybe he's on there.
magic-based
Totally.
hero on that show, because you got your tech, you got your...
You got everything
people.
else. Yeah, you've got everything else. And I think Matt Ryan was the best part of that show. Matt Ryan as Constantine
Easily.
was the best part of that show.
His sidekick, the girl, I'm blanking that
Yeah.
name. That show kind of flew out of my brain, to be honest.
Which-
but
yeah, which
she
is-
was pretty good.
As ADBLK says, Constantine needed better scripts, I believe.
You need a lot of other better things.
And it also
too.
could have really benefited, with that character, could have really benefited being on FX.
Yeah, totally.
But
Agreed.
what are you going to do? Like it's great that he's. Well, what are you gonna do? But it's great. This is so cool. Like it's so again, anything's possible at this point.
It's like we live in an incredibly exciting time for comic book fans.
Speaking about this universe, I was reading this week that they cast Livewire for the Supergirl TV show. I saw
they cast
that.
Livewire. They also cast another like C-lister villain, which is cool. Good for at least they're doing. We're going to talk about Marvel villains later, but one of the things I like about these shows is they skimp. Like they understand that their material. There's decades of material. So yeah, get a couple C-listers in there, see if you can do stuff with them, but don't pull like a Daredevil. And it's like, would you get one?
You get one per season, maybe 1.5.
Yeah.
But I did read further that people over at CBS are interested in her crossing over to the Flash Arrow universe, and Supergirl was actually pitched the same time Flash was. But they wanted Flash because he was already introduced into Arrow, and they're like, I don't know, they wanted to run with Flash before they ran with Supergirl.
I was reading that article, and when you read the studio execs...
Ran with Flash before they flew with Supergirl.
Yeah. The way his response is so great, because you can tell he's kind of exasperated, and he's kind of like, listen... Flash had not aired yet. We weren't sure how successful Flash... You could tell, like, if we were making the decision now, we would have Supergirl, okay?
Yeah.
But I think they're softening to it because I would imagine more episodes are coming into Supergirl, and they're feeling more confident about it. That was the impression I got.
But here's the thing. Supergirl is still kind of problematic for this universe because Supergirl alleges that Superman has been... not only exists, but has been
existed for 15 years.
For 15 years. So that would mean that everybody's been ignoring Superman this whole time, or assuming that he wouldn't be able to help them. And I mean, are you going to cast a TV Superman?
I think they should, but also I that doesn't, as a comic book reader, that doesn't bother me so much because you're used to like. Well, why doesn't this hero come in? I don't know. He's doing his own thing. Who cares? We're in this story.
As a casual viewer and like not someone who was reading and following comics, I would be a little bit mad. I'm like, where's Superman? Like she's got the name from Superman. She's got the cape.
No, but I'm talking about if she connects with the other shows, how come Arrow hasn't mentioned that Superman's been around?
I just use the Flash's fucking parallel universe shit.
I mean, yeah, you totally could.
But we do know that the Justice League is supposed to exist in this universe, and the Flash is supposed to be a founding member. I want to see that. I want to see
multiverse.
I want to see this Justice League. We heard the rumors last week that apparently Batman v Superman is supposed to be the bee's knees and all that jazz. I want to see this universe. The people handling this universe have been doing such a good job. I want to see this universe as Justice League.
I like how they play around with, they flirt with like the things that they cannot talk about, because like Smallville once said like, oh, we met this billionaire in Gotham City, and like that's about it. No, sorry, they couldn't even say Gotham. They said they meant a billionaire on the East Coast.
So something that was it.
Here we have a question here from Joseph Alon at Joe Alonzi. What aspects of magic do you think they'll use in Arrow? And that kind of brings us to the Matt Ryan of it all, and it's been revealed how he's going to fit into the Arrow Flash universe and how he'll be introduced. And he is going to be introduced as part of the arc that brings back Sarah as White Canary. No, go ahead.
Which is good because they're going to need to do a lot of
explaining.
I was hoping it'd be a time travel thing, because how much would that suck? Like you get to have all these crazy adventures, but when you go back, you're going to have to die.
But I like that magic is going to be used.
Since that's not the thing, it's like if it's going to be Lazarus Pits, we're going to need a lot of because why don't we just start bringing back all the characters that have died?
Well, that's the thing. When they bring back someone like Thea was still alive, so when they brought her back with the Lazarus Pit, there weren't major complications. But bringing back somebody who's been as dead as long as Sarah has awakens something terrible from down below. And only John Constantine is going to be able to stop whatever demon gets released.
Demons.
Now, to bring up something that everybody hated me about, do you think there will at least be a joke about Constantine's name?
No.
There will not be one, DJ. There will not even be one.
Can I just get a joke? Because those fans are so hardcore about it. I'm not alone. You know where I picked this up from? Hardcore Constantine fans.
Wait, I didn't hear that. Somebody
Constant what now?
Yeah. The Constantine fan. No, seriously, like when the movie came out, and the people that created the show wanted him to be called that, and NBC was like, no, it will confuse people.
Well,
I would have been annoyed hearing Constantine. I'm like, I get it. You're being loyal to the fans, but just say it. If you had a movie say it wrong, just follow
just
through.
Commit to the wrong.
Follow through. It's based like you
should have had him be dark-haired and Keanu Reeves. The whole just commit to it.
Yeah, commit to it.
It was a fine movie. That movie wasn't awful.
That movie wasn't.
It was fun. It was fun.
It was really
fun. It wasn't really. I mean, it was a Constantine movie, but it was good. It was good.
Right.
Also, quick maybe movie news things. I just wanted to say it really quick. Wesley Snipes has been meeting with Marvel about possibly reviving Blade in some way. We did a story on it this week on SourceFedNERD. You should check it out. That would be really cool if Blade showed up on the Netflix series, because that's the only place he could really go in the Marvel universe.
I would much rather see a Blade Netflix series than another Blade movie, because those movies are all flawed, but his portrayal of the character is always cool.
Do you guys think that they will ever create like a Marvel Knights film brand? Like, but you know how Disney has Touchstone?
Yeah.
Where they can kind of put some of their heavier stuff. Like, do you think Marvel will ever...
Here's why that won't
Netflix
happen.
kind
I think
of
I think it's a great idea, and I feel like if the superhero boom happened back in the 90s or like in the early 2000s, that might have been possible. But with the way that movies are produced now, it's either a micro-budget movie or it's a movie that's $80 million or more in budget.
Yeah.
They don't make mid-range movies anymore. They just don't happen. And that would be the kind of movie that you'd make for $50 million, and it would be a mid-range bet. But those movies don't get made because they feel like they're not spending enough for it to be a huge hit overseas.
Maybe that's... We'll see. Maybe that'll change if Deadpool's really successful. Because they're not spending a lot of money on Deadpool. It is going to be R, and they're kind of dumping it in February.
That's something that was confusing for me, because Kick-Ass was a $40 million movie that grossed over like $150 million worldwide.
God, that movie's so good.
Such a good movie. So it's like, why don't we have more of these mid-range superhero movies? And I guess Deadpool will be the next test. Yeah, that is interesting.
I don't think we talked about Kick-Ass 3 is coming out at some point. Let's just ignore
Kick-Ass
it.
2
Let's
was
just ignore it.
not that
In a
great.
hit girl movie, let's just ignore it.
Yeah.
Well, Kick-Ass 3, Matthew Vaughn, I believe he said that if they were to do the movie, he would be more heavily involved.
Thank God, please.
I don't know if he'll direct, but at the very least, he'd be more heavily involved because he loves those characters.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm bummed he didn't do more X-Men movies.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this, but they revealed, Entertainment Weekly revealed the first photo of the new Arrow bunker.
Yeah, which we actually don't have a picture of.
We don't have a picture of it. You should
up.
go check it out online. Look up Entertainment Weekly. It looks rad. It looks like the fucking Batcave on TV. It's like, how much did their budget increase? Because this thing looks beautiful.
They got a Mercedes that none of the cast can touch.
None of them can touch.
They cannot touch
it is
that.
just there as a sponsorship.
But yeah, again,
That's how they can afford it.
It just emphasizes that, like, again, like, this is a superhero show now, and it's great because I think with a lot of these shows, they get stale after a while. And this is a great way, the evolving tone of this show. Like, last season was kind of wonky. I see it kind of as the show transforming into something. Every once in a while, you get one of these seasons where it's kind of like going from one really great thing to hopefully another really great thing. But that transition is a little shaky. So I'm hoping that's what that was. And we're getting, like, it's going to be kind of a different show at this point.
I've been trying to research Damien Dark and Hive. They're not
He's barely there.
Damien Dark is barely there, and Hive is also barely there.
Hive is a pretty big deal in Teen Titans and stuff like that.
But it's not the same. It's not the same.
But I can guarantee you they saw the name Damien Dark on Wikipedia or something, and they're like, yes. They probably have their researchers and like, that name is too good for us to sit on it.
No, I when we heard about Damien Dark, I actually just watched the whole Teen Titans series. It's very short. It's a fast watch.
Can you find that on
iTunes?
iTunes. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you have to purchase it.
But Damien Dark's not said at all. So I was like, all right, well, Arrow will just do the Arrow thing.
Teen Titans.
They'll just do the Arrow thing.
Yeah.
A bunch of folks in the chat were saying that the Arrow bunker should be called the Quiver.
Harley Quinn came with that car is funny.
In other news, we got pictures of Black Panther. It's a stunt guy in the stunt version, like
the
it's
stunt
bulky
version of the suit. It's not like the hero version where it's like going to be looking good. In
this
the
is
shots.
the one that we're seeing quickly roll by, so that and it's bulky, so the guy doesn't die.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, that guy is going to look cool on a motorcycle.
Yeah, right.
I bet he eats steak.
Based on the little bit that we're seeing there and the picture they released, though, like, I am amped to see that costume. Black Panther's he's such a cool character. I really hope they nail that movie because Black Panther's so cool.
Please.
And we're going to talk about Marvel villains later today. Black Panther is not... I guess it's going to be Claw. We already know because they already had him. And it's going to be Andy Serkis, who's great.
Who's awesome.
So I'm hopefully it'll be good because Black Panther's not really known. Surprisingly, a lot of Marvel characters are not known for their huge rogues gallery. Spider-Man and the X-Men are kind of unique in that. So anyway, I just hope it's good.
Yeah.
That's all. I just hope it because Black Panther's awesome.
So we have a tweet here from Tadeo Lerma at Tadeo Lerma, and it's one of the next stories that we were going to talk about. Hashtag SH Roundup. NBC ordered today the pilot of a DC Comics show called Powerless, and it's supposed to be a comedy. It's a sitcom set at a life insurance company in the DC universe who has to pay out policies to people who get killed in superhero-related accidents.
Which is pretty great.
Which is a great idea that I feel like a bunch of people made web series series out of that weren't set in the DC universe. And I feel like that's what makes it interesting is the fact that it's in an established comics universe.
It's almost like when they talk about that DC Online thing. Like, it's a great, because it's like City of Heroes, but with DC characters.
Exactly.
I did hear that Batman and Superman probably won't be in that show, but as long as they kind of like flirt and play with like other characters, or maybe just like side mention them, that'd
be great. Is we got people like Ambush Bug, or what's Garth Ennis's comic that started coming out? They started putting it out again. Section 8, like some of the really low rent. Because that's one
like
of the beauties.
So low rent that people who aren't comics fans would just assume, oh, they just made that stuff up. And it's just sort of like, okay, and it's not
maybe
obtrusive.
Booster Gold or so. I don't know.
I would love it. Booster Gold would fit in better on that show than on Arrow or Flash.
Yeah.
Why isn't Booster Gold in the Arrow or Flash universe yet?
Especially with the Legend of Tomorrow. You know why I think, and I think it's the same reason for Blue Beetle, is I think they're hoping to have those characters have their own show. For a while, there was talk of a Booster Gold show on Sci-Fi. So I imagine they're waiting to give them their own.
Don't give it to Sci-Fi.
Look, Sam, Sci-Fi has made good shows
I
before.
love Eureka. I loved Eureka and
love
Warehouse
Eureka,
13.
and they made Battlestar Galactica, which is shocking to think that was on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, it's one of the best shows ever.
Yeah, they do have good shows, but
And Defiance even flirts with greatness.
Yeah.
Helix was great in the first season.
I'm less bummed. I'm more excited about Booster Gold on Sci-Fi than I am about Titans on TNT.
that thing will never be made.
I wish they could have spun off Roy into a Teen Titans show. That's it. That's all I have to say about that. I just wish they could have done that.
Another casting announcement for Arrow, or no, it was for Flash, was they cast Dr. Light. Or they cast like the woman who played the good version of Dr. Light.
Yes, for people that are confused about that, there was a bad guy version of Dr. Light that was kind of ineffectual. In the 80s, I think, right around Crisis of Infinite Earths, they made a good version of Dr. Light that was a woman. And then they brought back old evil Dr. Light and made him a rapist.
Huh.
It got very dark.
Just a not fun art for anybody involved.
Identity Crisis is dark.
In New 52, he's just a normal dude.
Yeah.
For a second.
Oh, for a second.
For
anyway,
1 second.
for 1 second. Right before in Trinity War.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. I wonder if that's... I would actually really like to see Dr. Light, the villain.
Yeah. I would be great to see him first, and then maybe have her adapt his tech and take it from there.
Again, having these shows and the fact that they're using like the C-listers and the D-listers is just cool, because one of the beauties of the DC universe is because it's welded together from so many different continuities, you've got so many characters to work with.
I got to talk about Lady Cop.
Yeah,
we can't
let's
forget
talk about
Lady
the most
Cop.
important casting of the week, Lady Cop. There is a comic called Lady Cop. And who is this character?
I don't
Why
know.
does she matter?
Well, she's a lady cop.
Yeah.
In the DC universe, and
wait, which show did she get cast on?
The Arrow. She got cast to Arrow. Lady Cop.
That's
Lady
great.
Cop.
There's I forget her name, but there was back in the 50s, comics were a little bit more diversified, and there was this pop singer character. It was like a Josie and the Pussycat in the DC universe. I'd love to see that get used. I'm reading the new Black Canary run, and I'm really bummed that the Black Canary in Arrow is not that. Like, I want punk singer Black Canary from now on and forever.
Yeah. They won't do that.
Antonio James asks, how tall is DJ? Is he like 6'4"? I'm 6'6".
Damn, girl. Fritz at Endless says, what about Stephen Amell being on WWE and being called the Green Arrow by Triple H?
People are so amped on that.
People flipped their lids. And I'll admit, the gif of him jumping into the ring and start pounding on gold dust, I got excited.
Yeah.
Because that was just really, really cool. He's been trying to get on WWE for a while. He's a huge wrestling fan.
Guys, dreams come true.
Now he's wrestling at SummerSlam.
I like that that's his dream. Like, you know what? Being Green Arrow is okay.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
I really wish I could get into WWE.
You're a superhero for a whole generation of people. But hey, whatever. Yeah,
no, he wants to be on WWE.
Everybody's got their dreams.
But he was referred to as the Green Arrow by Triple H.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I imagine that was just sort of like the people from the show were like, okay, you can have him, but you have to refer to him as Green Arrow because that's what he is now. He's the Green Arrow.
Amped on that. I'm so excited about that.
Oh, yeah, we don't have any photos of this, but I also read that ABC helped Viola Davis, because she's on How to Get Away with Murder, secure her role for Suicide Squad in a competing company, which is kind of cool. How so? Yeah. That's a good question.
You don't know. They just
I read a title.
Well, everyone's saying it was Stardust, not Gold Dust. I'm sorry.
We don't know.
I'm sorry. I stopped watching wrestling back in 2003.
Because the thing I was most excited about in that Suicide Squad trailer was Viola Davis as Amanda Waller.
because she's perfect.
Yeah, she's so good. Guys, we need to talk about something that
Oh yeah.
is painful for me.
DJ
If you
has
give me
a
a
rant.
moment.
Oh wait, oh yeah, DJ's got a
He has
rant.
a rant. Same as a point. DJ has rants. I'm sorry.
Everybody take a deep breath.
Guys, Tom Hardy is announced to be working on adapting 100 Bullets. And for those of you who don't know, 100 Bullets is super meaningful to me. Very few. I think there are a few works that have influenced the way I write more. And the way I work, and I've always been kind of hoping that I would get in the game faster than that got adapted, and that I could be because it means so much to me.
Yeah,
you're worried that when it gets adapted, it'll just be another crime thriller, and you want people to realize how special it is because it's literature. And I've thought for a long time. My favorite character in it is a character named Victor Ray. He doesn't show up till issue 50. It's 100 issues. And I've always thought Tom Hardy would be great at it because it's that classic. You think Lee Marvin in Point Blank.
Yeah.
Man, a few words.
He
actions.
is this generation's Lee Marvin.
In a lot of ways, and so it's exciting. And then you find out like that. That's fine. I wanted to be the guy. There's odds are very much against at this point me being the guy unless this goes in development hell for like at least 5 years.
Sure.
But then you find out the guy from the wrote Vatican Tapes is writing it.
And Vatican Tapes
Is
I'll
at
check
best
how much-
is at best forgettable.
Let me see how it's doing on Rotten Tomatoes.
For those of you,
finish
while
your rant.
he's looking it up, Vatican Tapes is that trailer you saw with Michael Pena as an exorcist. That in every theater I saw that trailer for, the audience laughed, and it is not meant to be a comedy. But it's kind of one of those, like, I could see people, you're worried that people will take it, cool, this is a crime movie, they'll make a crime movie out of it. And if you look at the comic, the way, half of it is Brian Azzarello's amazing writing. The other half is Eduardo Risso's incredible art. There's a lot of, the way he uses color and negative space.
It looks really cool from what you showed us.
It's unique. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I feel like that should be part of the interpretation. I'm not one of those people that's like Zack Snyder, where it's like the panel should be the storyboards for whatever. What you more instead of the exact image, you want to capture the tone. It's trying.
Kind of like it could be wrong, but the color scheme they kind of used in the beginning of Daredevil, kind of like the yellows and.
Honestly, a lot of the way they use color in Daredevil, it would be very effective in that adaptation, and it's very difficult to adapt because it feels like an anthology, but it ultimately is one story. I think there's one arc in it that I've never quite figured out how it fits into the grander scheme, but the rest of it all goes 100 issues to one big story, and it's like one movie. Like people are like, oh, it should be a series, but even a series like. If it were me, I'd say, give me a 7 episode miniseries to like really like hone in on it.
I mean, I would love 10 seasons of a 10 episodes a season
series. Which would be great, but like who knows if you'd ever get that. And you don't want to go halfway. I don't know. Hopefully it's great. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I hope it's so amazing that the burden of wanting to adapt it is off of me, because that's a lot.
Because it doesn't matter anymore because there's already a great version out there.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly, I was hoping Man of Steel would take away that burden of wanting to adapt Superman. Yeah. Unfortunately, it is still there. I still want to.
The Vatican Tapes, by the way, is sitting at 14% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah. So that guy is helping adapt one of the most meaningful works of fiction I've ever read. To me, it hurts a little bit.
Okay.
So I don't know. I mean,
listen, DJ, you could still make your Punisher Warzone to their Punisher.
You know what I mean? That is altogether possible, or
your Incredible Hulk to their Hulk.
That's why I like. I don't know. I get another shot at it.
You would get another shot at it if it's mediocre to bad.
What if you made the TV series, the TV anthology series?
I don't know. Hopefully it's great. I think the only thing I have most of the notes that I have are for my own personal things.
Yeah.
The two things I have notes for that aren't mine are Superman, and a close second to that is 100 Bullets.
My favorite tweet right now that we've received is from Mark Zebro Jr. at Man Who Wears Hats. So what are we? Some kind of 100 bullets?
Truly, actually, honestly, if you guys haven't read it, I highly recommend checking it out.
Really, just anything by Brian Azzarello.
Brian Azzarello was great. He also wrote Joker. Joker and Grant Morrison's Batman R.I.P. were the two things that got me back into comics after I'd gone on a hiatus.
A little hiatus.
And unsurprisingly, those two creators are still the ones that, like, no matter what they write, it's like, I'm buying it.
Yeah,
I don't care what it is,
I'm
buying it. So yeah, that's it. It'll probably. I just don't want to be generic.
It's okay, buddy.
No, I know. I completely understand that.
I just don't.
What do you think I'm fucking obsessed with this fucking movie? I want the fucking movie to be fucking
great. Speaking of generic, let's talk about Gotham, which tweeted out a picture of a circus that said this. The tweet read, "This season, expect a different kind of circus on Gotham." And
I love that they admit that it's a circus on that show.
And I'm
Just
like,
gotta make sure in case you missed
listen,
it.
guys, unless you have the Flying Graysons who have no kids and they are in their early 20s,
Yeah.
stop what you're doing. Cancel production on the episode, you idiots.
Well, didn't they already hint at the Flying Graces last season?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
For those
watch
of you
it.
who don't know, when we stopped deciding to review it, we stopped watching it.
Oh God.
Oh no, I watched every episode of that show.
Why?
I watched every
I bailed.
episode of that show
I
because
bailed.
I bailed
one
hard.
of us had to talk about it on this show.
I was thinking about, I was working on writing a spec script for something, and I decided on Gotham, so I briefly came back to it, and it was so painful.
I love how many people in the comments are like, "No, please don't talk about Gotham."
Got him? Yeah, and no, it's so bad. If you're wondering, like, a show can't be that bad, it can. It has been that bad. It will be worse. It will get worse.
I mean, I cannot conceive of a way that it could 180 and become good, but maybe.
Yeah,
I assume Stranger Things have happened.
yeah, they have.
I can't think of any Stranger Things at this point.
I don't know.
Heroes is getting a reboot. That's pretty weird.
Heroes is getting a reboot, and it was announced this week that the premiere will be 2 hours long.
Yes.
Because you just can't get enough.
I'm so excited
The
for that
first season
show.
of Heroes was very good, in my opinion.
Yeah, the first season.
The first
first
season.
season.
And the first couple episodes of the third.
Yeah, I would argue
It
that
did show promise, and then it
Wow, it got-
a nosedive.
And
real
one or
quick.
two episodes at the back half of season 3 when Brian Fuller rejoined the writing staff.
Unfortunately, I bailed.
Oh.
Hey, it's okay.
There's an episode
failed.
called Cold Snap that he wrote that's almost as good as
I heard that
The
episode was
Briefcase.
very good.
Yeah.
I've heard about that episode
Yeah.
when
A
I
lot
was
of really good
involved in that
episodes.
show.
All right. Real quick, before we keep going, I just want to remind y'all that the best way to support this show is to go to iTunes, rate and review the show. If you haven't been getting it in your subscription box on iTunes, there was an issue with RSS months ago that has been affecting people even to this day. We've had it corrected, but you have to go to iTunes and resubscribe to the show. All the episodes will return, and you'll never have to worry about it ever again. Okay?
No.
Guys.
Side note on my rant, somebody in the comments said, so you want to send City Vibe for 100 bullets? Not really.
No, we don't want to Sin City vibe for anything.
Again, you don't want to be you don't want to be text accurate, but kind of like miss what it's trying to say, which I don't think Sin City did. I think Watchmen did. I think Watchmen kind of missed the point of Watchmen.
Oh, no, it did.
Honestly, you know what's weird though? I
It
think
did.
style-wise, Zack Snyder would not be a bad choice for 100 bullets.
Style-wise,
Stylistically?
do you want just 100 bullets in a movie? Is that what you want? I mean, if
'Cause
you want that, he will give you
He
that.
will give you those 100 bullets.
He'll give
Every
you all
bullet.
100 bullets
Anyway.
and then another 200.
Anyway, is it time? Is it time to get into the topic of the week? That
I
we're
think
gonna
it's time to
a
get
lot
into the
of
topic of
crap
the week.
for?
Yeah. So the question of the week is: does the Marvel Cinematic Universe have mostly bad villains? Are there any good villains? Which ones do you like? I open it to you guys first.
Well, from the movies, we looked at a picture of Abomination,
Yeah.
and I thought back, Abomination and the Incredible Hulk wasn't that bad of a villain. Like, now that I'm thinking back to that movie is very forgettable.
Yeah, I
But,
was gonna say honestly, I don't remember.
remember
Most of that movie.
But actually, from the movie, I barely remember Edward Norton in that. I remembered the fights, and I remember
did
the
you start
villain.
replacing Mark Ruffalo in your brain?
A little bit,
replacing
yeah. He
his
kind of like
scenes?
started Avengers was like the first Hulk movie for me, but Abomination was very memorable. And this year, I think I found my favorite, and that's Yellow Jacket. Not because he's very interesting; it's just of how he had just committed to crazy. They didn't explain it enough
because of how crazy he was stood out to you.
Yeah, how
that
crazy.
makes sense to me because
How
I
crazy.
I didn't think they adequately explained like why he was
They
crazy.
didn't. I know why,
but
they didn't explain it though.
But that makes sense. The fact that like because he played crazy well. He pretty good sheep for someone for no reason.
Yeah, and like he's like, and the way he died was great.
The way he
yeah.
died was graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
George R. R. Martin actually brought up something interesting. They were asking him in an interview about Marvel villains, and he was kind of like, my main problem with the Marvel villains is most of them are all just like the hero but bad. And he's like, that's boring. It's more interesting. And I started thinking about it. It's like that's true because like
Yeah, Obadiah Stane
As
turning into
Ironmonger.
Ironmonger. Darren Cross turns into Yellow Jacket.
Abomination turns into Bad Hulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just who else?
most of them like Red Skull is
Red
evil Captain America.
pretty much.
Winter Soldier kind
or
of
Winter
is,
Soldier
too.
really
Which,
is more
by the way,
evil
I don't know
Captain
if
America.
forgive me if I brought this up before. I thought it was so interesting. I feel I have. You guys are going to give me shit for bringing this up before. But I like that they establish in Captain America that it brings out what's inside of you.
Yeah.
And then when you discover that the Hulk's serum was based on that, it's like that is so interesting. Like that's
Yeah,
because
it means that Bruce Banner really did have a lot of anger
all that
inside
rage
her.
inside of him. But and I think like if you think about the old, like not necessarily MCU movies, but like Doc Ock and Spider-Man 2,
Right. Great.
in different, in similar. They're both. What's the? There's a name for if you have 8 limbs. There's a name for that type of animal.
Oh,
but,
well, an arachnid.
An arachnid for spider, but like octopuses, whatever. They both
don't
have.
know.
They're both 8-limbed
Octopod.
animals. Yeah.
It's an octopod.
Octopod.
Yeah.
Ah.
And so they're similar in that way, but they're very different. Even Electro and Amazing Spider-Man. Honestly, I think the best rogues gallery.
I do not like that
But
one.
visually, he was interesting in that he was a challenge for Spider-Man. And I think Spider-Man,
He was a challenge.
He was
I
a
think
challenge.
in the Marvel comics, the best rogues gallery of the Marvel universe belongs to Spider-Man, and I think because his villains are so different,
Yeah.
a lot of them share an animal theme.
Yeah.
But beyond that,
Yes.
they're very different, and he has to confront them in different ways.
My picks for like the good Marvel villains. I mean, really, Loki's top of the heap for me, and it comes largely down to performance.
Yeah,
because
Tom Hiddleston.
Yeah, Tom Hiddleston is just fantastic in the role. He's incredibly magnetic, and the character is very, very devious. I love him also because he has pathos. He's not an unstoppable villain. He's not brilliant. He's in over his head more often than not, and I appreciate that. Thanos is intimidating, but at the same time, we haven't really seen him do anything.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys, but I was kind of off put by Josh Brolin's performance in Guardians of the Galaxy. It was more thuggish than I anticipated.
It was thuggish.
I expected more epic, like Darth Vader type shit.
But see, Thanos to me, he is a thug. He's the most powerful thug in the universe.
And honestly, that could really work because Manhunter, which was an adaptation of the Hannibal book Red Dragon.
Yes,
1984.
Michael Mann.
Yeah, Brian Cox plays
Hannibal Lecter,
an X-Men villain, but he played Hannibal Lecter in that. And that version of Hannibal Lecter was very thuggish, and I actually liked it a lot because it was different.
I always thought of Thanos, but this is just my personal thing. I always thought he was like the guy behind everything, pulling the
puppet
strings, but he
master.
wasn't to anyone who was weak. He was very formidable, but he was smart enough. He's always intelligent. He's not he's very, very intelligent. So I kind of wanted to see more of that, and more like he was just kind of bullying Ronan around to like go do what he
People in
wanted.
the chat are bringing up Daredevil's Kingpin, and I want to say something real quick. His Kingpin started out as maybe the most compelling of the Marvel villains and an incredible performance. By the end of that season, I wasn't interested anymore. I didn't care. I stopped caring.
Yeah, for me, his Kingpin was always a little too over the top for me. It was like an opera.
There you go.
I don't want to be alone. The other thing that really bothered me is I never understood what he wanted. What does his version of Hell's Kitchen look like in his brain that's so great that it's worth murdering people for?
It's
I don't
a
know.
safe place where we could all live and love.
You know what I do want though?
But that is exactly the opposite. That's the same thing that George R. R. Martin was saying. He is the opposite of Daredevil.
He is the
They
opposite of
literally
Daredevil.
like hit that over the head multiple times in that show.
It also didn't help that their final fight was in an alley.
Yeah.
Just an alley, which
An
I
alley.
guess you could. An alley fight's interesting. I do really want to see his Kingpin in the Spider-Man movie just because I miss Kingpin interacting with Spider-Man.
He's still alive, right? Still alive in the show?
Yeah. He was in prison.
Yeah.
I would imagine he's probably going to be part of season 2. Like I think I would imagine a big arc of season 2 will be his trial, the trial of Kingpin. But I'd really like this because they wanted to use Kingpin in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, but they didn't have the rights, so they ended up going with Tombstone, which was great. It worked great, but it made that hunger in me. I was like, I miss seeing Spider-Man because Kingpin was originally a Spider-Man villain.
Yeah.
And so I miss that dynamic.
Did you think anyone in Guardians of the Galaxy was intimidating or a good villain? You had 3. You had
Somebody
Ronan.
I got a tweet. Somebody mentioned Nebula, and I forgot
Nebula?
she was even in the movie.
I thought Nebula was great. I mean, she was a little one note as a character,
That's-
but I thought that the performance was very effective. I loved the way that she looked, the way that she moved.
The way she looked was cool. I get a lot of shit for not enjoying Guardians of the Galaxy as much as the other people on this thing. I would like to point out, I don't hate it. It's just not amazing. It's to me, it's a B-.
Sure.
It's fine.
You're entitled to
And
your
one
opinion.
of the reasons it's a B- to me is Ronan is completely forgettable. To me, you could have replaced him with a stupid elf from Thor 2 that was played by Christopher Eccleston, who's an amazing fucking actor.
And should have been freaking Stannis Baratheon on Game of Thrones. Why did you turn down that role, Christopher Eccleston?
But he was so forgettable. And again, it didn't help that same day I watched Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and Koba in that is such a great villain. Such a great
that's a
genre
fantastic
villain.
screen villain.
And so you compare Koba, and he's clear. Koba told this great line of being completely despicable and doing things you hated, while you totally understood his reasoning. Even though he was way off the map, you emotionally you get where he's coming from.
Yeah.
And Ronan, it's like he's basically a terrorist.
He is a terrorist.
I found Guardians of the Galaxy kind of jingoistic a little bit.
A what?
The jingo, like very like chest thumping, patriotic, like Nova Corps America, and those are the terrorists, and they're coming. It's just the vibe of it.
I did not get that at all.
Just because it was so the Ronan was so one note, and like the Creed want to murder us because of our way of life. That was thrown around a lot.
Nathan Archer,
Yeah,
Nathan
but that
Archer
treaty.
222 writes, I thought Pierce, Ultron, and Loki were decent villains, but nothing truly
I
memorable.
wouldn't say Ultron. Ultron I had a big problem with. I love him in the comics. I'm trying to like pick up more and more, and I love his like interactions with Hank Pym a lot.
Yeah.
There's not any of that really with Tony Stark except for like maybe 2 scenes.
Yeah,
because there's too much going on.
And they tried to make him a little bit different because he picked up some of Tony Stark's character traits,
Which I thought was cool.
was an interesting idea. What do you think would have made Ultron better? Like more time? Because literally, it's the second Ultron appears, he's off to the races trying to kill everybody.
That's the thing, is there needed to be more time spent on how and why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really get any sense of his motivation other than a line or two, and really clearing that up and giving him a reason to try to destroy the world would have greatly helped the character, and I think it also would have benefited all those comedic moments that are so divisive for people.
Yeah.
If we had a reason to get behind his point of view, like that's the best villain. The best villain is somebody who's the hero of their own story, who we understand their point of view, like Koba.
Or if you think even the one out. If you think of Joker in The Dark Knight, he is the closest thing to like, why is he evil? Because he wants to be evil, but you still understand his perspective.
Exactly.
Like why he sees the chaos as being necessary. You know what I mean? And so like, I don't know, something. I was also wondering what if, because Edgar Wright ended up not directing Ant-Man, and Ant-Man was first being talked about around the time of the first Iron Man movie, what if Ant-Man had come out sooner and Ultron was a part of that? Maybe not the villain, but he was introduced in the Ant-Man movie.
Note in the back, kind of.
Yeah, like Scott Lang had made him, and you know how they relied on ants for all that stuff. What if Ultron was one of their helpers? Because that's how he was used in more that Avengers cartoon, not Avengers Assemble, the one that's out now, but the one that Earth's Mightiest Heroes, where he was kind of like, and he was part of Hank Pym's pacifistic vision that got warped into something else, and maybe that would have given us more time to understand. I don't know. The Marvel Universe's patchwork way of making things, it's like I feel like you shouldn't have to watch one movie to understand another.
Yeah.
But because I felt like we could have used more time with Ultron, I wonder if, like, because that is the way you do things, what would have happened if we got, or Ultron showed up in
Something.
Avengers?
Maybe
something.
take out
I don't
some
know.
of the humor.
Yeah.
Take out some of the humor. I get that it's supposed to be a mirror of Tony.
Yeah.
It didn't work. I wasn't threatened
What
once.
if
It wasn't evil Tony. It was
No.
just
If
this
the
weird
plan
joke.
was all along for Tony Stark to create Ultron, it would have made sense for him to maybe
in one
have
of the 3 Iron Man movies.
in one of the 3. If it was in Iron Man 3, where he's out of his depth and he has no access to Jarvis, and he's out in the middle of nowhere with this freaking kid in this garage, and he cobbles together an AI as best he can to run what pieces of the Iron Man suit he has left on him.
Yeah.
And this piece of software, this malformed piece of software.
Like maybe he tries to make a backup Jarvis,
There
and
you
it's
go.
Ultron.
Because I'm like,
Exactly.
they kind of did that in Iron Man 3. They kind of talked about how Jarvis took over all the suits and was fighting along with Tony, and that's the idea they kind of tried to build off of. But why make a new AI and why not just improve upon the one you have?
something like that.
Speaking of,
We got a comment here in the chat that I thought was interesting. Mighty Sebastian 1738 says Ultron was trying to prove something and he just did a really bad job.
yeah, I think to me the same note they hit with Ultron was the same they hit with Yellow Jacket. Is like, why is he doing this? Because he's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not a character motivator. Like,
But
that's not an
it
explanation.
worked.
to
It
anything.
worked, however. Well, actually, no. In a way, Darren Cross's motivation is the same as Ultron's.
Oh,
which
my
is,
daddy didn't love me.
My daddy didn't love me, and I'm going to prove to you that I'm better than you, Daddy.
Yeah.
But at least Darren Cross had more of that Ultron existed for 10 seconds before he started
He just
attacking
murdered
Daddy.
everything.
Yeah, but there was something kind of cool that I wish they used in Ant-Man to like kind of build up the villain more. They could have actually had a very, very compelling villain if they established a sane Darren Cross in a flashback and then built to showing how crazy he's become either through the pressure of work or being exposed to those particles. Because I did read an interview with somebody who worked on the movie why Hank Pym would not get back into the suit.
Yeah.
Because in the comics, he like splits off and has multiple personalities. That's something that happens in the comics.
That's probably what they try to explain.
They
why
tried
his
to.
wife.
Why? Yeah. They. But he has multiple personalities in the comic, or like he suffers from that, and that's he kind of hints to it for a second, like
because if you don't wear the
exposure.
helmet, like you start losing your mind. The other thing they could have done was maybe establish clear what, like if Darren Cross legitimately thought the Pym particles could save the world. Like, why aren't you Hank? You could save the world with this, and make that because that's a legitimate motivator. Like, if you see a way to help people, because those are the best villains. Like when you just take your ideals one step too far,
those are the best villains,
or do 100 steps too far. Like you just take it in, but to you're like, this will make things better if it's just this way. Yeah, I don't know. Speaking of Iron Man 3, we're talking about Iron Man 3 a little bit. What do you guys think of Mandarin?
I'm okay with Killian. I'm okay with Guy Pearce, right? That's him?
Yeah.
Okay, that joke was fine. It was them making fun of the fanboys. I think that was just them kind of jerking them off.
Which, when you're talking when Killian's like, if you're looking for the Mandarin, I am the Mandarin.
No, I meant more of the tease.
Oh, the tease of it. Which, I guess, spoilers to Iron Man 3.
The bait and switch, yeah.
Spoilers to Iron Man 3.
But the Mandarin isn't real, and it's an actor.
Which is actually kind of an interesting concept.
Yeah.
Although I think if you're going to say fake Mandarin, then have him showing off the rings. If it's all going to be fake anyway, at least have your fake version of him
be the real deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Wait, you mean like make him magic? Like,
no, like when he's making his
10 rings
wear the 10 rings, and when he's making his threatening videos, have him show like, you want to see how powerful I am, and he does stuff, but it's all movie magic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Just
gotcha.
like if you're
They
going to
just
go
made him
fake,
a terrorist.
just go super.
Here's
fake.
where I'm at. I have no attachment to the character because I never read the Iron Man comics.
Yeah.
So that kind of colors me a bit. When I saw the Iron Man 3 trailer, I thought that Ben Kingsley's version of the Mandarin in that trailer was so scary. It was so terrifying. Like, you couldn't reason with that. That was really exciting to me. When they did the bait and switch, I was admittedly a little bummed out, but I did think that Guy Pearce's Killian was a really effective, kind of like a Bond villain. That Iron Man 3 is basically a Bond movie with an Iron Man suit instead of an Aston Martin.
I liked it.
Yeah, that's a good way of describing it. I want to watch it again under those auspices. I think it bums me out because as we're talking about them just doing kind of like knockoff villains, like you have Mandarin, who is different in pretty much every way than Iron Man, and then just make him the same. And Aldrich Killian, like he's got whatever the extremis is, and he's breathing fire. You know what I mean? Like I think it was changed because the Mandarin is traditionally Chinese, and a lot of that movie was paid for by China. But again, I don't know. Would it be that bad to have a very powerful, direct, effective person of another nationality as your bad guy, as opposed to just having him be another white person? I don't know. Whatever. China wouldn't have allowed that. I don't know.
It would be nice to have a villain of another race.
Also,
it would be nice to have more heroes of another race.
It'd be a nice thing to mix
How
things
about
up
just
a little
more
bit.
Characters of another
other
race?
races and sexual orientations and all that jazz.
Because it appears to be that the Marvel universe is 99% white. Which
other than all
that's
their
not
other than
possible.
all of their sidekicks. Every white Marvel hero has a black sidekick.
Not all of them, just Captain America.
No, Captain America has Falcon. Iron Man has War Machine. Thor has Idris Elba.
Idris
Idris Elba. I
Okay, so
apologize.
then 3 of them have black sidekicks.
Then Ant-Man has Luis.
Okay, Hispanic sidekick.
You know what I mean? Like, well, we still have our ethnic characters. They're just the sidekicks to the whatever. Anyway,
Hey, Black Panther.
And another thing I kind of wish they could have done, and this might have been, I don't know, in the comics, Mandarin got his rings. Part of his origin is Fing Fang Foom, which is old school dragon character.
There's a tease to that in the first movie.
Well, it would have been interesting. We had giant dragon monsters as part of the aliens. What if he got his rings from the alien tech?
Oh, and they're like Chitauri rings.
Yeah, they're Chitauri. He got them from, like, he examined one of the dragon things, and he lovingly nicknamed it Fing Fang Foom.
Because in the first movie, there's a tease that a movie is coming out, and the poster is Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah.
That's like the tease, and like, oh, he names after his favorite movie.
Yeah,
That'd be kind of fun.
And it's already in a way, like I know Marvel wants to be more realistic, quote unquote, but we already had giant alien dragon monsters flying around. One of them could have been Fing Fang Foom. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
But to be fair, they did do that patchwork, and the Mandarin is real now
on that
with
what
that
was
short. All Hail the King.
All Hail the King, which has
People
Ben
are talking about
Kingsley in the prison.
Well, yeah, I didn't watch it, but I just know that they established that there is
I'm
someone
There's
else.
theoretically a
Not
real
a
Mandarin.
fake name, right? At least it's not blackface. Was that ever on the table? Not a fake name?
I mean,
that
yeah.
was not that. What?
That wasn't
has
happening.
Nothing to do with our point.
Yeah, that is not my point.
Nothing.
That is
That
not
is
my
not
point.
Sam's
helpful.
point. Would you guys agree that some of the best villains in the MCU actually come from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yes, I would. I would
Yeah.
argue that Grant Ward is the best villain that they've had.
He's
I
very
did not
compelling.
like Garrett. I did not like
I
Bill
liked
Paxton.
it. I liked
No,
it.
I
he
love
got-
Bill Paxton in anything.
He got too
though.
crazy when he got like that injection of space stuff.
Hey, you need to take a stance on crazy and whether you like it or not.
Hey, I like science crazy, not space crazy. I don't fucking know. Anyways, I like that, and I also like the villains they used in Agent Carter because the show was
Yeah.
very subtle. It had kind of a slow burn and not a great like climax at the end. It was still a good show. Still
Yeah.
love the show. And I'm excited for the second season. But I like those villains, Dottie and
Faust.
Faust
Faust
yes.
from the first season.
Mhm.
And
Faust? Like Felix Faust? Like
No.
Okay.
Felix Faust is DC, but
Okay,
like
there we
he's Dr. Faustus who can manipulate minds, which again he's a Cap villain. It would have been interesting to see Cap deal with that guy. Also, next season we're getting Madame Mask, which like a femme fatale would have been great in Iron Man 3 James Bond Iron Man.
It would have actually.
I don't know.
Well, you kind of did. You had an
you had the-
extremist woman.
yeah.
Ish.
I don't
You
know.
know, she wasn't really a femme fatale. She was more just like a hot lady who could kill you.
Yeah. Speaking
She
of Cap,
died pretty
though,
quick.
one of
Yeah.
my favorite MCU villains was actually Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah.
Because when he was like Terminator in the MCU, the second he showed up, you knew shit was going to get real.
Yes.
Like in that movie, every time
Every
he shows up,
time
you're
he
like, oh
showed
no.
up. Yeah.
And Alexander Pierce was good. He was I can't think if he was ever threatening. Ever.
I think Alexander Pierce was good because Robert Redford is an amazing actor.
There you go.
Yes, he was.
And it was just a little bit of star power.
And to
kind
see
of.
him
Yeah.
go evil was just really cool.
He's
Cool.
never
And
he's never really
Not
evil from the
really.
movies I looked on his IMDb.
Yeah. And he did a good job. I think because Robert Redford has that more trusting persona, like when his evilness made more sense just because you want to like him.
Yeah.
But also Arnim Zola, played by Toby Jones. I actually
Mm-hmm.
liked him in both the Captain America movies.
He's great. And he's just a great actor.
He's also really good in Wayward Pines. He has
Yeah.
a big role in Wayward Pines.
He's also really good in Notorious, which was the other Truman Capote
Capote movie.
Yeah.
He's always the other. Like he's the other Truman Capote. He's the other Alfred Hitchcock.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he always
He's
gets there second.
the
He's
other.
pretty good. I liked him in Winter Soldier. I
Yeah.
liked him in that.
Oh man, I was bummed out that Baron von Strucker was just killed off so
Yeah,
unceremoniously.
So nothing in that movie, and I think he could have been used in Captain America or something. He could have used it somewhere.
Any-
Speaking
Anything.
of Captain America, did you guys see that that leaked report of what it is that sets off the conflict in Civil War?
I know. I mean, they've been talking about a lot that there is some kind of superhero tragedy. Like they are responsible for death. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
No.
deaths.
I mean, like that's what happens in the comic.
Thing.
For
yeah,
it,
but
yeah.
I don't think it could be as drastic as that.
No,
because
it could not be. Please, God, don't be as drastic as that. Yeah.
What are the
well,
reports?
so this is not confirmed. So I mean, maybe turn off your audio if you think that it's a spoiler. I don't know if it's a spoiler, but if it is, maybe turn off your audio right now. The whole team, the Avengers, is overseas trying to track down Crossbones.
Interesting.
Trying to track down Crossbones, and Crossbones, it turns out, is wearing an explosive vest. And he...
this sounds like spoilers. I don't even know if I want to know.
Really?
This, but keep going.
Okay. Well, he's about to set it off in a populated area, and Cap orders Scarlet Witch to levitate him into the air quickly in an attempt to get the explosion away from
Yeah.
the people and the buildings, but she's not able to do it fast enough. He's too heavy, and it goes off and it kills a bunch of people.
That's a lot better than what it is in the comics. That's
Oh god, that's you can digest that better than what happens in the comics.
Yeah.
Man, that's
What happens
since
in
we're
the
in spoilers, the new Warriors, which are kind of like the Teen Titans of that world, are fighting Nitro, who blows up around a school and kills a bunch of school
they
children.
and it's like really fucked up because like they wanted to be televised, they wanted to be famous, and so like there's a TV crew, so they're trying to like they actually like hunt down Nitro, corner him, and he freaks out and like detonates. And,
my God.
And he takes out a
lot of
whole
people,
town
a lot of
and
people.
and a whole school.
But now spoilers past.
It's over.
It's over.
Bye,
Spoilers.
come back.
All right.
So guys, I think part of this conversation will be interesting is, do you think DC has better villains than Marvel?
Always.
Yes.
They always have, and
Yes.
I think they always will. It's sad, but it's true.
No, we were talking about it. They have good rogues galleries for a lot of their characters,
Yeah.
like Batman. You know, everybody
Do you
knows the
think-
Batman.
Here's the
villain.
thing: if you let's say if you took out Batman's rogues gallery, does DC still have better villains?
Yep,
than-
they have. Yep, they
Yeah.
do. I mean, I like
Lex
the
Luthor,
Flashes.
Brainiac.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Superman's rogues and Flash's rogues. They're
Yeah.
all really interesting. To be honest, I don't know a lot of the other villains. I know them from Justice League cartoons and whatnot, and like from Justice League comics. But
Yeah.
no, but I mean, still, they're very
You
interesting.
got Shadow Thief. You've got all the new gods. You got Darkseid. All that stuff.
Darkseid.
Darkseid's way more intimidating than Thanos.
Yes, I would agree with
Wait.
that.
I don't know if he should. I agree. I like as a fanboy, I want him to be. And I think that's more of what I was expecting from Thanos.
Well,
in,
that-
in
that-
Guardians of the Galaxy,
You
I
He is a
wanted him
ripoff.
to be Darkseid, but the
Yeah.
thing is, Darkseid is devious, where Thanos is more of a thug. Like
Yeah.
like Darkseid is a planner. Thanos is just kind of like he takes stabs in the dark. He's like moving one piece here.
Yeah.
Oh, that didn't work out. He moves another piece here. Oh, that didn't work out. He wasted years
Yeah.
letting other people do his dirty work,
Yeah.
and now he's going to do the work for himself.
No.
He even gave somebody an Infinity Stone to go get an Infinity Stone.
Stone. What are you
Vandal
thinking?
freaking Savage.
Vandal Savage. That's the, I
Ra's
agree.
al Ghul. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the only
Banner.
the only good outside of Superman, outside of Spider-Man's rogues, the only good villains are in X-Men.
I would say the X-Men because I think part of the richness of the X-Men is because the heroes are so emotionally complicated. The villains are too. Like Magneto, half the time is one of the good guys,
Yeah,
which they capture in the movies a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I also
he's
think
the villain in every damn X-Men movie. Every single one, except for the solo Wolverines.
yeah. I also think Doctor Doom is a really good Marvel villain that they've never quite cracked in the movies.
well, just the problem is Fantastic Four and all things Fantastic Four are so 60s that
Yeah.
it's difficult. Basically, studios are afraid that people won't be able to take them seriously, and I know that that's wrong. But
Yeah.
at the same time, if I was in their position, I'd have the same fear.
But I would hope that they would look at the Flash show because the Flash show veers hard into the skid as far as like 60s goofiness goes.
A
They,
little.
they decided they allow that talking psychic gorilla to exist. And it's like, you can do it. The point is you can do it.
You can do it.
I
You
also-
just have to build to it and tease it and have him kill a bunch of people so you know he's a threat.
Yeah, well, the other
Commit.
thing,
Just commit.
I also think that going back to that idea of the Marvel movie villains being too similar to their counterparts. In all the movies, they've tried to explain Doom as having powers, and they're always related to the same accident that the Fantastic Four had. In the comics, he doesn't have powers. And if you think
He's got
about
magic.
he uses magic, but even if you don't want to use magic, he's got the power armor. So imagine evil Iron Man versus the Fantastic Four. That's a pitch. You could pitch that to studios.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about your talk yesterday about how Doctor Doom's like helping if you were fixing the Fantastic Four movie.
Sure.
I was wondering, it's like, what if he was the ruler in Latveria? And you know how China bankrolls a lot of projects. What if Latveria was trying to get in on that game and was bankrolling the Fantastic Four project,
Ha.
and he was the money behind it?
Yeah.
And again, because I love this guy and I think he'd be good at it, Mads Mikkelsen as a Hugh Dancy
He
as
would be
Mr.
an incredible Doctor.
Get Hugh Dancy as Mr. Fantastic and Mads Mikkelsen as Doctor Doom. He might be a little hard to understand under the mask.
Sure. Lawrence Fishburne is the Thing, and there you go.
There you go.
Hannibal
You
Reed.
got it made. You got it made in the shade.
Mwah.
Why do you guys think DC villains are better than? What about them? What makes them better? They're just
you
more iconic.
understand them more.
Sinestro.
Sinestro. You but like again, like even if they're just like plain downright villainous, like
Yeah.
Sinestro is basically just a. I mean,
I
you
don't- but
would
he- but
you
again,
try to
he has
explain him.
motivation.
He
He's
does.
He's Space Hitler.
I'll tell you
Space
why,
Hitler.
and maybe this is a stab in
Yeah.
the dark, but this is what makes sense
Mustache.
to me. Ostensibly, everything in the Marvel universe takes place in our world. They live in New York City.
Yeah.
It takes place in our world, and because of that, the villains are a little less outlandish, and when they are outlandish, they're not as believable.
Yeah.
Versus like it's DC villains get to be more comic booky because they live in comic book world.
Yeah.
They can kill thousands of people. Like the Joker is a freaking terrorist.
Yeah.
But he's a terrorist who does things in a very specific way, who's freaking crazy. I don't see enough crazy people. I see people with powers.
We got Crazy. We got Yellow Jacket.
One.
And
You've got-
Abomination.
You've got people like Black Adam, whose motivation. I also think it's helped DC in recent years that they have Jeff Johns in their stable.
Yeah.
Because he's really good at like retooling villains. Like there was a reason he wrote Forever Evil, which was
that's so good.
Which was focused on the villains because he does a really good job of trying to get into their heads and figure out why is this guy doing this evil shit. Yeah. I would like to see, but Marvel does have good rogues gallery. I just wish they would utilize them more in their movies and stuff, and get a little bit more creative with some of. I think there's villains that they're afraid of, like, oh, that's too comic booky.
Well, I'm very
Embrace it.
curious to see what they do on Jessica Jones on Netflix.
Yeah.
Because it seems like there was an interview with Jeff Loeb that came out this week where he talked a bit about their approach to the show. And much like with Daredevil, where you spent half the time with Kingpin, who's an established character, so that made sense to me.
Yeah.
You're going to spend half your time with David Tennant's Kilgrave.
Yeah.
And he describes the show as a psychological thriller that Jessica is really she's just trying to make rent. She's not in this to save people.
Yeah.
And she's just struggling with coming to terms with what happened to her.
Yeah.
I don't know how far they're going to go into that. I'm not going to say spoilers, but man, if you know in the background of Jessica Jones,
Yeah.
ooh, you can go look it up for yourself.
I also
Man,
don't
that's
know-
Bad
some
news.
tough stuff.
I also
to
don't know if I
swallow.
want to spend that much time with Kilgrave.
You're gonna,
basically-
it's going to be
'cause-
like
But
Daredevil
Kingpin-
and Kingpin.
But at least Kingpin you could relate to. Kilgrave is basically like if somebody had psychic powers and you imagine what your average person would do with those, that's Kilgrave. And it's messed up.
And, I wouldn't say average, like a horrible person. He's a horrible human being.
I think if you gave somebody the ability to control other people, your average person would probably buckle under that and do some pretty heinous stuff with it.
Dang.
Especially if they had, bad upbringing. Like, it could be any
But
reason.
so it's like, do we really want to spend? It might be. It's David Tennant. He's
Yeah.
obviously got the charisma. Mm-hmm. But like, do we want to spend that amount of time with that type of person?
I don't know.
I mean, it's David Tennant.
Oh, somebody in the comments just mentioned Kang the Conqueror. Where's Kang, for crying out loud?
Oh.
Maybe they're waiting to do an X-Men Days of Future Past type movie with because he's the big time traveling villain.
With who? Fantastic Four?
He's commonly known as Avengers villain. He was introduced with Fantastic Four, so maybe that's why.
That's
they
why I
can.
kinda remember him, yeah.
Maybe that's why they can. But again, I'm hoping that now that Spider-Man's part of the MCU, those villains like Norman Osborn. By the way, I was thinking, who would be a great Norman Osborn, especially if he's supposed to do, if he needs to do, because there's been rumors that Tony Stark's going to be in the new Spider-Man.
Sure.
And so I'd like to see Norman Osborn do some verbal sparring with him. Vince Vaughn. After watching True Detective season 2, I think Vince Vaughn could do a very interesting Norman
I'll
Osborn.
I'll say this for Vince Vaughn. He does the best he can with that dialogue. That dialogue is garbage, and
season two?
he
In season
sells
2.
at least a quarter of it, and that's more than I feel like most people could sell.
Not to get off on True Detective season 2. Frank's my favorite character. That Frank and
Really?
his wife. I related to them the most.
Well, I heard
I
that,
cared about them
It's
the
'cause you're
most.
married.
What the heck is his name? Matthew McConaughey's looking for a role in a superhero movie, both Marvel
DC.
and DC.
He'd be a
snap him
great
up.
Norman Osborn.
Yeah,
He'd be
I-
a great anything
if Marvel
ever.
were to grab him, but
Snap him
that'd
up,
be a
DC.
waste, to be honest.
Snap him up, DC. Please do.
Please get.
I
him.
would like
What
to
would he
watch
do?
a Matthew McConaughey Riddler, please.
I would maybe
Maybe.
Matthew McConaughey maybe is Green Arrow. As an older, if you're going to go old, since Batman's been around for a while, if Green Arrow's also been around for a while,
A crazy Green Arrow.
he doesn't need to be crazy.
I know. I just want to see Matthew McConaughey.
You just
play
want to
crazy.
play somebody crazy.
Yeah.
You know what? Vandal Savage.
Yeah.
Matthew
Yeah.
McConaughey, Vandal
Wow,
Savage.
If he
because he does
sold
have that
it as
ageless thing
As
going
the
for him.
ageless thing, if he put on some of that Southern charm, it's like I do what that guy said. Mm-hmm. Also, somebody mentioned in Spider-Woman in the comments. I was just thinking about this before we started up. Do we know who owns the rights to Spider-Woman?
No, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Is that a Spider-Man thing? Or is
I
that
feel that's like Spider-Man. I feel,
Okay.
but I mean, we have it now. Marvel's got
Yeah.
it now.
Yeah.
They'll do something. with
Something.
it, probably.
What do
Hopefully.
you guys think we're going to see at D23?
I think we're gonna see a Spider-Man costume and maybe a Black Panther costume.
I think that's probably a good bet. We're not going to get any kind of trailers or
I
anything.
think some footage. I've heard rumors that there's going to be some Cap
Maybe
footage.
like a Suicide Squad type footage thing for Comic-Con. That is not a trailer, guys. If
Yeah,
you're like
that's
worried
just
about
footage.
Suicide Squad, that's not a trailer.
Yeah.
That's nothing. That's some pre done CGI helicopter
That's a
crash,
montage.
and then some taglines. So yeah, don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm very curious to see what they bring tomorrow. But honestly, they announced Incredibles 2. I'm a happy boy.
That's true. We did get a poster shot of Incredibles 2, which
That just
I'm
makes
super
me so happy.
excited
It's one
about.
of my all-time favorite movies.
Yeah.
That's the best Fantastic Four movie.
It really is. I've been saying for a while that I think they should just make a live-action Incredibles to be a part of the MCU, to be their new first family.
Yeah.
And you let the animated ones be Brad Bird, so he can do whatever he wants with them. But then you got a live-action version that's part of the greater MCU.
I don't want him to be hurt by all the
Guys.
bad stuff, though.
Can we just have Brad Bird direct a Marvel movie already?
Guys, can we have Brad Bird direct a Superman movie?
Oh,
Really?
He'd
man,
be great.
yes.
He'd be great as
Yes.
Superman or Fantastic Four.
No.
even
I'm
though
okay with
he
that.
already did a good.
Superman.
Yeah.
100% Superman, because nobody gets optimism without like Brad Bird does,
Yeah.
and he gets optimism without it being corny, and that is entirely what Superman's about.
His Incredible Stone, I think, would be great for a Superman flick.
100%.
Maybe.
Oh.
I'm on the fence with that idea.
All right, DJ.
Let's
we
do my
gotta
pull list
do
real
that
quick.
Pull list.
Next week, we've got Black Canary #3 coming out. I was talking about it a little bit earlier. Great book. Annie Wu on art. Really awesome. Black Canary's leading a punk band. Super cool. Justice League #43, continuing the Dark Side War, which is Darkseid versus Anti-Monitor. I don't think there are
What?
two
It's so
either
good.
more. I don't think there are two bigger villains in all of comics.
No, it's none.
And they've decided to fuck each other up.
It is
Holy
so
shit.
cool.
Stray Bullets, Sunshine and Roses #7. Maybe I'll make a Stray Bullets movie. Maybe that'll be my.
There you
There
comic.
you
go.
Maybe
go.
whatever.
You got
Quick,
bullets
boys.
right there in the name.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty good with black and white too. Anyway, at Marvel, we got Runaways #3. Runaways was a great classic Marvel book. They're bringing it back for Secret Wars. Star Wars. Oh my goodness.
He's
oh
mad.
my goodness. we got Silk #6. She first started appearing right before the Spider-Verse crossover. Sam likes her a lot.
She was bitten by the same spider that got Peter Parker.
There you go. There you go.
Didn't that spider die after it bit him?
Not
Oh,
now.
It bit her, then died.
And then we've got Star Wars #8, which is continuing the Star Wars saga.
Super.
There we go.
All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of Superhero Roundup. We'll be back next week, Friday, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Please join us live. I'm Matt Lieberman. You can find me on Twitter at Matt Lieberman, MattLieberman.
You can find me. I'm Sam on Twitter at Sam Basher, BASHOR.
.com.
.com.
I'm DJ Woolridge. You can find me at DJ Talks Trash on pretty much most social media.
Super. So we'll see you next week. Maud's going to be back. It's going to be a great, great time. And we're going to be talking about all the stuff that comes out of D23 tomorrow, as well as all the news that comes out next week. See you then. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.